The Carbitrage Podcast, episode 85. I am Eric Berger, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Sinitsky. Hello, sir.
Hello, this is me and my two thumbs.
I also have two thumbs and I believe 8 other digits.
And,
Yeah?
if you listen to the last episode,
Yes.
functioning internet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah?
Nice.
I had to restart it like
I'm
3
proud
times.
of the little pink Acer,
Yeah.
which has boot loop yes AC,
Yes.
according to the sticker.
Yes, it's got AC power going to it.
And boot loop,
Yep.
it's like a Fruit Loop, but with boots.
But with boots. Yep.
Anyway.
All right. That was a good conversation.
I am so excited that we were able to derail something immediately after adding it to the rails.
Exactly. Just
I'm just
derailed it off the bat.
immensely proud. Well, why don't you keep going with this derailment and talk about some pre-war garbage?
Yes, I want to talk about HispanoSuiza. Thank you. HispanoSuiza was, that's, all right, you gotta get into the weeds because pre-war.
Well, yeah, but
The
we've
whole-
talked Hispano-Suiza before.
They are very cool. I would put, if you're looking for like the coolest pre-war brands, I would say Bugatti, Duesenberg, Pierce Arrow, HispanoSuiza, and then probably, I think, mechanically, I would have to say probably either Dirac or Dedion Bouton. But anyway.
Did ya?
Yeah. Now,
French
most
people.
of those do not exist. They've made several attempts to bring back pre-war brands, and they've all gone terribly. The Stutz Blackhawks from the 70s were grotesque.
Sorry.
Every attempt to bring back Duesenberg has been disgusting.
Has it been a doozy?
Oh!
That's where that term came from, actually.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, it's a doozy. I mean, it's a Duesenberg.
That's a doozy.
Yeah.
So that would mean it's bad then?
Usually.
Or complicated?
Now, occasionally, something goes right.
Okay.
Bugatti.
Yeah,
They brought back the EB110,
they do. It's perfect.
which is perfect.
Almost automotive perfection.
Yes, they brought back the Veyron, which is
Decent.
It,
Technological showcase.
Technologically, it's very important.
Yes.
Now,
Has a lot of cylinders.
yes, and then again with Bugatti, Persang, which is literally bringing them back in the most literal sense, making perfect reproduction cars. Now, HispanoSuiza, though, they're Spanish, but in 1926 or so, they had this weird offshoot where they had a quasi on its own brand in France that was also called HispanoSuiza.
Weird.
Yeah,
So it was related to the company or it wasn't?
they were the same companies,
Okay.
but because of some weird law, they had to make 2 separate companies. Now, this is where things get a little into the weeds. HispanoSuiza obviously went out of business. They were like defunct even they were barely a thing by the time the depression happened. Like, they were that defunct by then. So, World War II, HispanoSuiza was 100% not around.
Okay.
It was a car company. But they made, like, when they were around, they made the biggest, best cars. Like, you could get a Rolls Royce or you could get a HispanoSuiza.
Now, when
and
you say biggest, you physically mean biggest, right?
physically massive vehicles. They had a 2-door car that was, like, almost as long as it would fit barely within the wheelbase of like a school bus, like huge, like massive cars.
I hope the doors were proportionately long.
No, it's a huge hood
I
because
think they figured out hinges that could handle that kind of weight until like the 2000s.
they were normal sized car doors. They just had a mile long hood. You know, like your spare tire came with a Voitois.
What about, was there like a spare engine in the back of the engine bay and then your real engine's in the front? Or
No, it's just a massive engine with a huge cooling system.
Or is that where you picnic?
And then actually it was front midship too that they would mount their engines to.
So it's a performance car.
Oh yeah, they're really cool. And actually, it's funny because like even though they're like these giant like 10-liter engines or whatever that made like 125 horsepower, like when you drive them,
Yeah.
they kind of drive almost like a modern car, which is huge. Like that's a big thing to say. That's something from before.
Did they have like disc brakes or did they just
No, they had 4-wheel drum brakes, but they had
create the illusion
they
that
had
something is higher?
no, they had 4-wheel drum brakes, but they had power brakes.
Okay.
that was
That's
based.
really impressive.
It was-
Hydraulic?
Yes, they were hydraulic, and they were the power brakes are based on, they didn't use vacuum pressure,
Okay.
but rather they used a jack shaft that came off of the transmission and used the transmission pressure.
Sure.
Re-
That's interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so
really,
that's
really
like Hydro
cool.
Boost, but it
Kinda,
doesn't.
yeah.
I mean, it's not drawing the ATF from the power steering system. It's
It's-
drawing it from the trans.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems
Really, really
sketchy,
weird,
but okay,
but-
sounds good.
Anyway, that's the way it worked. But like, yeah, when you would drive one, like when you compare it to a Rolls Royce,
Yeah.
like today we think like Rolls Royce is like the best.
It is.
Not then.
Right, but it is today.
Rolls Royce is like the survivor. Like that's it. It's Rolls Royce is the best in the sense that like.
So why did Rolls survive and Hispano-Suiza did not?
Well, Rolls Royce they had a better reach into like the royal families and stuff.
Okay.
They give like huge discounts to people, and plus the economy in England was significantly
So
better.
they had a bigger Rolodex.
Basically, they had
Okay.
a bigger Rolodex. That was it. Even though Hispano-Suiza was a better car, it's one of those things like you know how Saabs were technically better than like any other GM platform.
Oh, yeah, they were. Yep.
Yeah, Hispano-Suiza was technically better than almost every European platform at that point in time.
Yeah, I could see that.
But they were just like not making money, and they couldn't.
That's
they
because their
couldn't
cars cost too much to make?
Yeah, and they couldn't like get them rolled out fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a good problem to have, other than the fact that it didn't work for them when they went
no,
bankrupt.
yes, that's the huge
I
problem.
assume. I don't
that's-
actually
That
know.
is
but
actually basically what happened. Is
Okay.
the TLDRs they went bankrupt.
I do love TLDRs.
Now, fast forward to 2010.
Okay.
A company in Europe tried to make a Hispano-Suiza car that was based off of a Audi R8. Now, if you scroll down from the picture that's on the screen,
Okay. Oh my
see what I
Lanta.
mean by,
Those
like,
old.
how-
I feel like I have to do this again.
look at that orange one. That's actually cool looking. Like, that's really cool looking. But see what I mean? Like, they're front midship engines.
Well, of course they are. The wheels are at the front of the car. That is the crumple zone. No, there aren't any crumple
Well,
zones.
no, that's the thing. They didn't have to design it that way. They designed it that way so it could have the entire body sit lower. That's the one from 2010.
Okay.
Is an R8 base car is it'd be like $1 million. Nobody cared. Literally nobody. Like people.
It's literally like a body kit on an R8.
It sucks. Like
Yeah.
no, I'm not paying $1 million for
No.
that. That's not a good car. Now,
It was around $950,000, and nobody was all that interested.
this is Jason Torchinsky. I love.
I'm
Jason.
noticing the similarity between what you just said.
Yeah, I love Jason Torchinsky's designs. Now, so there was Don Damien Mathieu, who is the original fancier that actually did it, and then Mark
Damien.
Bergic.
Yeah, that second name is not French, so I can't help you.
Well, it's Swiss, so
Yeah, but
Hispano-Suiza was a
Damien
Swiss.
Mathieu is like that's much more romance than the
Yeah.
angry Blitzkrieg language listed below
Well,
it.
Hispano-Suiza means Spanish-Swiss, because Spanish would be the guy
Right.
that funded it. Swiss would be the person that designed it. They apparently are going to be the family of Don Damien Mathieu has a concept car. It's based off the Dominant Xenia, which is the car you see there. Also, probably the single most beautiful pre-war car is the Dominant Xenia. That car shown right there.
It's probably the most proportionate.
It's when you see the.
I'm
whole
trying
car,
to be
it's
kind.
Really cool.
It's not
But anyway,
working.
they're going to be releasing a car now. That
Nope.
company that made that car
Don
from
Damien Mathieu is,
Yeah.
or Hispano-Suiza?
Don Damien Mathieu's family owns the rights to Hispano-Suiza in Spain because of that weird thing where they had that split, where they had the French Hispano-Suiza and the real Hispano-Suiza.
Ah.
Yep. Now,
Oh, no wonder that 2010 R8 thing was hideous.
yeah,
Look who designed it.
I know, but this is also the same guy that designed this one. This is the new one that's coming out.
Yeah, I don't like this.
Erwin Himmel, which is very close to Heinrich Himmel and Erwin Rommel, so this guy's likely a Nazi, is helping the people that made the 2010 Hispano-Suiza that nobody cared about, and they're trying to do it again.
Does that say Mansouri?
It's Mansouri,
Okay, but it's not Mansouri.
not Mansouri.
Okay, good.
So they're going to be trying to come out with this. So in Geneva this year, there's going to be 2 different competing Hispano-Suiza marques that both have perfect legal entitlement
Okay.
to the name.
Oh,
and they're going to have to
jeez.
duke it out and figure out who can win.
This one looks R8 based.
I
Again.
believe that the chassis is. And yeah, the V10 drivetrains from the Lamborghini and everything. It's got a pair of electric turbo compressor turbochargers on it. And they're using the original Stork hood ornament on the car, which is kind of cool.
I like that it's in the middle of the front grille because it's so huge.
Well, the thing is, so the Mansory is it's a word for stork or a breed of stork or something. Now, the thing is, when you look at that hood ornament coming out, it kind of looks like an erection peeking through a zipper when you see it like away from the car. Like when you're up that close, it looks kind of okay almost.
Are you talking about, like, is this, like, in dedication to Osiris?
And it's also a stork, which is like,
Stork, yeah.
you know,
It
what is
might-
the
it
stork?
might- I think that might actually be because that would be a.
Okay, so we went to the Sunken Cities exhibit at MIA
Okay.
the other day, and there
That's
was a
Megari.
room of Osiris, and all the pictures on it had pictures of him with, like, a massive erection.
You know what? That might be.
He
you
was
might
just
have
proud.
a point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is a dedication to Osiris.
Yeah,
And
it's a-
again, the massive erection that is the stork, which is a metaphor for childbearing.
Yes, it's it's
So-
at the Mansory. It's the Megari. That's what the new one is.
Ah, I'll never forgive you for that one.
I know, right? But so this hood ornament where they just
Grill
awkwardly placed it. If you scroll down, I think they have a better picture of it from the front. It sticks out like
There's
it's
like a
trying to.
facsimile of a stork on the side.
Yeah, and in the rear, I mean, I think it's a very pretty
It
design.
looks okay.
Minus the stork, I think it's really pretty. Now, if maybe you try going up, because there's a picture where you can clearly see the stork sticking out like an erection. Scroll up a little. I think it's the first image, maybe. Up all the way. One more. So this is probably the best one. That stork like sticks out like 3 inches.
It's good for pedestrian safety.
It's terror. Yeah, exactly. And not only that, it looks like the car's got an erection.
I have
That's
something
terrible.
I need to add to the notes right now. Hold on one second. Talk amongst yourselves.
But this is exactly what I mean. Every single time they try to bring back a pre-war marque, it almost always ends in failure because somebody goes, "Oh, this is a great design," and it's just too of the era. So you had like the 70s, like the Stutz Blackhawks, which just used the Stutz name, and then had like basically a Pontiac Grand Prix with a ridiculous body kit on it. And then now we've got a supercar with an erection. So I just really hope that they sort that out before they actually make it.
I just hope Val Kilmer's okay.
Yeah, I want that to be a real thing. I want that car to come out because I love Hispano-Suiza.
I think you like what the company used to be. I don't think
I don't
what
like
it
that.
is.
No, I don't
All
like
right,
the way it is
I'm
now.
back to this. Sorry. I had to add another story because it's hilarious.
The other thing with Hispano-Suiza, like if they wanted to bring back Hispano-Suiza in like the best way possible, instead of making some ridiculous supercar, make like it would be like a sedan EV.
That's what I want. Okay, if you're bringing back an old car manufacturer
Yeah.
marquee that was cool, don't build a 2-seat low-slung sports car. Build a
not what it
damn
is.
sedan.
Well, you can build. What I would say is it'd be like a sedan that's got like what was that car Richard Hammond flipped over?
Which time?
The Remace.
Oh yeah.
You would
Yeah.
do something like the Remace. Make it like a 4-door sedan. Make it like
If it's interesting in technology, sure, okay.
make it like Fisker Karma level of like awesome design and luxury.
I wish Karmas weren't so much. I'd buy one.
Yeah, and that with the back, so that'd be kind of.
The first gen ones, they're still way too expensive.
Oh, really?
They're almost $40,000.
Well, they have that new company that owns the brand, and they're making them again.
Yeah, and that's cool, but the first gen one I think is.
That'd be a car I'd probably say be a good investment once they go down a little bit more.
Maybe.
Once they hit the teens.
We'll see. Maybe
But
I'll get
anyway,
one of those someday.
No, they should make something like a Fisker Karma with like 1,000 horsepower electric engine motor, and like
Thank you.
Yeah, and then you know what? Just to make it so it's got like unlimited range as well, put like a tiny little 4-cylinder engine in it or 2-cylinder. engine
Okay.
in it.
I was
that
gonna
just-
say, I'm like, that's pretty close to what the Fisker Karma's intent was. Originally.
Yeah, but just make the most ridiculous, overpowered electric car with unlimited range. Like that's
Unlimited range.
that's
Unlimited
like 800 miles or whatever the hell, like something ridiculous. Whatever the
A
tank of
range
gas
number
is.
where you stop thinking about it.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what a Hispano-Suiza should be. And then also,
I'm all for that because I love electrified things and all that.
one more thing they should do is with the factory bodywork, have the chassis be able to support coach building.
That would be cool. But are there even any coach builders
Yes,
left?
there are actually.
Okay.
There's quite a few. Touring's still around, and Pininfarina is technically a coach builder.
Huh.
A lot of the
Okay.
yeah, there's still a lot of them.
Oh,
around.
Zagato?
Zagato.
Was there still a coach
Yep,
builder?
Zagato's still around.
Would Alpina count?
It's in-house, but
that's
yeah,
more like a-
kind of.
Yeah, that's a little bit different because they're not building like full custom bodies or anything.
Okay, just wondering.
But no, that's a good point to raise.
Are we going to bring back the cars that are convertible in the front and sedan in the back?
Can we
Yes,
really? That'd be
please.
rad.
Perfect
don't
chauffeur
want that.
cars, like where you just leave your chauffeur out in the rain,
Yep.
just because you're that
Just to show
rich.
people how
Yeah.
badass you are and how above them
Yeah,
you feel yourselves to be.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's,
but
Because, like, then you can have the people in the front that, like, really like convertibles, and then
I love
my
convertibles,
pale
yeah.
ass self can sit in the back and not get sunburned.
yeah, it's a really good design. Like if you have like your wife that does not want your convertible,
I want to
like,
see a drive
that'd be
shaft out of
perfect.
one of these.
they're a mile long.
I know, I wanna see
I
one.
think they're only like 1 or 2 piece, and it's just ridiculous.
If that was a one piece, God, that'd be amazing.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, so
And
good.
I have to say it 'cause there's a chance it might have been. Like, just with how ridiculous pre-war cars are, like, they never said that something was a bad idea. They just did it, and they figured out if it was a bad idea afterwards. Like, that's what I love about them. It's just the weirdest stuff.
What are we going to do for drive shafts? We got these oiling pump shafts from these old airplane engines.
Perfect.
Can we just get some collars and put 4 of those together?
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the wheelbase in our car going to be? Well, we designed it to
200
be
inches.
We designed to be 200 inches. However, this drive shaft itself is 200 inches. We got to put that in the back of the transmission, so it's actually be about 325 inches.
So we're going to put a convertible in the front and a sedan in the back.
Yeah, and there's gonna be an apartment building in the middle because you gotta have to rent out some space to pay for
tower
this
block.
gas. Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got going on next here. Oh, it's me. Of course. Yeah, derp. So, okay. Back when Carbitrage was still a motor cult,
Hey.
we talked...
1 second. We didn't talk about beer.
Oh, shoot.
I've been waiting to open this.
Oh, let me turn on... Oh, actually, I haven't even turned this on yet. It's perfect.
There we go. I have a Wooden Hill Saison called French River. Wooden Hill is a local brewery.
I wish it was written in French.
That would be very cool. But the owner's a really cool guy.
Rivière Française.
The owner of Wooden Hill is a Tesla guy's enthusiast. He's not just
Nice.
like he's not one of the guys who's just like, oh, I have a Tesla. He actually like thinks
I like these. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had their beer. It's all really good.
Yeah. they go to that Bloomington car meet at the ski thing.
Highland. Yeah.
Yeah, Highland. Yeah.
Yeah. My cousin's husband runs that and has the relationship with these guys. So I talked to them. They're super cool.
We should have him on the podcast.
We
sometime.
should.
I grabbed the guy's.
Hopefully, grab if he's a car guy.
I have his business card in my pocket right now. Yeah.
Email him.
I will. All right. Well, I'm
Excellent.
opening this up.
All right. Beauty. Beauty. That is the Carbitrage I know and love. This is turning into like an ASMR podcast when we do the when we do the beer opening. It's like,
Delicious. Yeah.
Hello.
we're gonna get some Amaranth followers now. It's gonna be perfect.
But yeah,
Better pull your tits out then.
Sorry. Yeah, I need to wear a lower
delicious.
cut shirt, and then become a.
Can we turn down my
relatively
gain so you don't
Oh.
have to hear me actually sipping my beer?
Yeah, sorry. I did that now. I'm not a bright man. Anyway, how was the beer?
Delicious.
Oh,
It's
perfect.
It's a Wooden Hill.
Excellent. Good. I'm glad.
They don't make bad beer. So.
I haven't had any that are bad. I'm sure that every brewery's got their wet blanket.
That's true. Well, I mean, even their IPA, the typical wet blanket's fine.
What was that IPA that we had like 2 months ago? That
was
was
actually super
really,
good.
really good because it didn't have the batteries in it.
I like that term. It didn't have the batteries in it.
I know.
Seriously.
I brought it. Didn't I
I don't know. Yeah, you did. Well, I mean, yeah, you would know the terminology better than I do on what that exactly
was
is.
that was it Able?
It might have been.
Blue can?
It was in a squealer or whatever that is, or a crawler. I'm struggling. That was really good, though. Yeah.
I think it was them. Yeah.
White and black can, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
No, white and black?
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't them. Because all theirs are orange and white.
Oh, no, it wasn't them then.
You know what we could do?
Yeah.
Is go back and listen to past episodes until
We
you find
could.
it.
We should encourage people to do that.
We should have them do that. And in fact, they should. We could actually have it written down.
And if you ever listen to an old episode of Carbitrage and it says motor cult, that's just, just ignore that.
The motor cult is a weird pronunciation of Carbitrage.
Yeah, I think we were just...
Motor cult's actually spelled Carbitrage.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, let's talk about your thing.
Sounds good. Now that we've gotten the beer out of the way, back when Carbitrage was spelled motor cult, we talked briefly about Chevy killing a lot of its domestic car production as well as a lot of factories. And along with that, Tesla buying the manufacturing productivity stuff for its Volt line, which it was going to be shutting down. Well, I'm sad to announce that the end of the Chevy Volt has just arrived. They have finally stopped making that car. It's actually a pretty good machine, so it's one of the better cars that GM made. But it's news, nonetheless, so the second-gen Volt wasn't around that long. It is now completely dead. I don't actually know if Tesla bought the factory. Hopefully they did.
I imagine they were shutting down because Mary Barra hates good PR, so...
Probably. Although Tesla's firing a bunch of people now, too, so maybe they won't even buy this factory. But anyway, I'm sad. I like electric cars, so this one was a pretty decent one, even though it's a PHEV. But
don't worry. The Honda Clarity still exists, and that is a beautiful car.
And the Hyundai Ioniq plug-in hybrid also
Another gorgeous car.
Beautiful.
Yes,
so we've solved all the problems by these going away.
Yeah, and you know what? Hyundai and Honda are both significantly better brands.
And they both have an H in their logo.
Yes, that's better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think on that bombshell, bye-bye Bolt, hello Clarity and or Ioniq.
Yes, that is a
Kona
thing.
EV or something. I don't know. Just buy an electric car.
That is a real-life thing. So, as we mentioned last episode, the Nissan GT-R is officially 50 years old as of last week.
Happy birthday, GT-R!
Yay!
Happy birthday!
Everybody should be happy. So, I'm not going to go over the entire history of it because that's a thing.
And we're going to be covering history of another fairly wide scoping model just after that. So.
Yes. So,
well, not just after.
I mean, I'll start out with some things. It was first kind of released to the public.
BRB.
Yep. It was first released to the public February 21st, 1969. Yes, that was 50 years ago, and it is a pun apparently. Oh my God, it's 69. All right. Anyway, so the GT-R was not Nissan's first racing Skyline. That goes way back to like the Skyline Sports of the 50s. However, its immediate predecessor was the S54 Skyline 2000 GT, which was a four-cylinder Skyline of the generation prior, but that had the front end extended to fit a Nissan Gloria 6-cylinder engine into it. Those were the actual, like, everybody's betting, like, this car is obviously going to win the Japan Grand Prix in 1964. Ended up not. It got second because some asshole privately entered a Porsche 908, which was a purpose-built Le Mans race car at the time. It was the fastest Porsche you could get. And, yeah, dusted the field. Except there is one car that was able to actually keep up with it. And not only keep up with it, actually pull in front of it for a short period of time.
So who was the David in this Goliath race?
The David would be the Skyline.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to just make you say that, though.
But it was, I believe the race car driver, Tetsu Izukawa, was able to take a production sedan with an inline 6 stuck under the hood of it.
Which inline 6? L28?
No, it was way before that.
Okay.
It was the inline 6. It was a G7 inline 6 from a Nissan Prince Gloria. I guess it'd be a Prince Gloria.
Is that more similar to what Mr. Hawkyard's wagon has? I mean, I know that was a British car, but
Yes, if you're trying to think about
That's
what
probably
it
like a
looks
side
like.
valve,
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
six
yeah,
with a-
yep, that's exactly what it's not side valve, but reverse flow cylinder head.
so reverse flow.
Means that a cross flow
So it's
cylinder
cam
head.
and block. Yeah, I know, but
Well-
like you can you do reverse flow with overhead cam?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So you
Okay.
put. It's really weird because.
Oh, I suppose you would
yeah,
just be running it through the head a lot more.
Yep.
So the intake valve's on the far side, and it's just
Yeah, and
okay.
the reason you would do it, the logic behind that is that it helps stabilize the intake temperature, so you can tune the carbs a little bit
Probably
better.
air cools the cylinder head a fair bit too, actually.
Yep, and your distributor can be on the other side away from heat.
I think that is just a marketing wanketeer thing where they like couldn't quite put out a cross-flow cylinder head in time, and they were just like researching the
No, I mean
things that could be construed
They
as
had
benefits.
a cross-flow cylinder head that they made for other cars.
Right,
like,
but the tech probably wasn't there to make it good.
no, I mean it was fine and all, but one of the issues was heat soaking with the distributor.
Huh.
With
Well, I suppose
the
was it a
size-
points ignition?
Yeah,
There you go. All right,
So
I
that's
get it
why.
now. Those things are more fragile than paper.
exactly. So anyway, they for Burger for you because you were out using the loo. TLDR, Nissan sticks a 6-cylinder engine to a production sedan, and because the sedan was so well designed, it was able to actually pull ahead of a purpose-built Porsche race car and keep the lead for a few
And
laps.
how did Porsche feel about that?
Oh, they were absolutely ass mad.
That's what they get for sneaking into this race.
Well, to be fair, Porsche didn't enter it. It's a guy that bought a Porsche and entered it because he's just some rich Japanese guy.
I know, and that's what he got for sneaking in.
That's true. But
Justice.
the thing is that Skyline held 2nd through 5th place. Every single Skyline finished the race, and every single one finished right behind one another.
So it was like a 1-2-3 victory for the Skylines?
No, it was 2 through 5 victory with the
Okay.
Porsche in first place.
Of course.
But that's the thing is that was a totally unfair race because that Porsche was so far
Well,
out of class.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is a completely different class of vehicle. That's
But
like
it
it's
was
like going to a BMW 2002 vintage race and showing up on a 767 Mazda,
it's literally it. That's exactly what they did. Or
and then a 510 keeping up.
actually, I guess more accurately, it'd be like a BMW M1 in a race of 2002s and 510s.
Okay, there you go.
And all the 2002s keep up to the M1. Like it would be something like that, or all the 510s keep up to the M1.
Right.
It'd be something like that.
Which I suppose if you had a tight enough, technical enough track, you might have that happen.
Well, the reason that the car was able to do that was just because it was weirdly balanced with the amount of power to weight ratio, the fuel economy of the vehicle, the reliability of it. Because a lot of the other cars were dropping out left and right because they had like dual overhead cam engines. And,
Well, it's just a lot
like,
more
just,
technology.
Like, all
to-
this tech that wasn't working out, and just like Nissan's like, this is all production stuff.
Like,
we didn't do anything.
we just pulled this engine out of a car in
We-
the parking lot.
Yeah, we got to put this engine back like tomorrow because our janitor's Gloria does not run.
And he needs to go to work, so don't blow it up.
Yeah,
but
yeah, our toilets are gonna overflow if he's not there. Like we need to get this sorted out. Anyway,
we do digressions like that all the time, but I swear something like that actually probably happened.
yeah, I'm confident of it. Anyway, the car was sort of redundant in its lineup,
Okay.
the Skyline, because Nissan really wanted to kill it because they already had the Nissan Laurel at that point in time.
What was the Laurel?
Was Nissan's mid-size sedan.
Okay.
At that point in time. So the Laurel and the Skyline were kind of selling side by side, and the Skyline came from this other company called Prince, which was a higher spec company. They were more Prince is closer to like a Lincoln or a Cadillac for Japan, as opposed to Nissan, which was more of a Ford or a Chevy.
Okay.
It was just like kind of like a cheaper car. So yeah, the Prince guys refused to drop the Skyline, and they were like, "All right, fine, whatever. To keep workplace morale, we'll keep the Skyline selling."
Good, because it's a much better name.
Oh, it's a way better name. Yeah,
Although Gloria is a pretty good name too.
and Laurel.
honestly. I'm resting on my laurel.
Well, not only that, they also had a car called a Cedric as well. So all their cars are just names. But
Is
anyway,
Cedric an entertainer?
no. It was Cedric.
Did he die in a Tri-Wizard tournament?
No, he didn't. I made that same joke to Ben as well. No, it was another.
You guys are the worst.
That was the vice president of Nissan's favorite play. Had a character whose first name was Cedric, so they named it
I
Cedric.
think that's like the origin of the name. Is a
I
really,
think all
really
JDM
old
cars come from plays.
It's Nissan for sure. That was huge. Like
It just
in the
it like
60s.
goes out the night before to whatever the Broadway equivalent
Some-
of Japan is, and then new product announcement in the morning.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where the Laurel name came from too. Like,
Because we'll talk about another
So
one later in the episode.
when is
but
the Nissan Othello coming out?
I know, right?
I want the Datsun West Side Story, please.
Exactly.
Blowjobs. Blowjobs.
Anyway,
South Park
so
episode. Pretty good.
that Skyline was well and good, and it kicked ass throughout the 60s. Where the GT-R came in was the next generation after that. Because Nissan had been barely beaten out by the 908, Nissan ended up making the R380, which was their race car we talked about with the great engine in it. If you didn't
please
listen-
keep going.
If you didn't listen to the last episode, GR8, it was engine code, which pronounces phonetically to great.
Great. Actually, it's Frosted Flakes, I believe, is what that engine was.
Anyway, so the GR8 had a 4-valve per cylinder, triple carburetor, twin cam engine in it. They scaled that down to be a 2-liter engine that was found in the GT-R. With that, the R380, when it came out in '66, that engine was placed third in the Japan Grand Prix.
That's the 2-liter with the 6.5 quart sump or whatever.
We're getting to that one.
Oh.
That's the S20. So anyway, the GT-R was announced with that S20 like 2 weeks after they announced the Skyline 2000 GTs, the homologation version of that car.
gives me so many good feelings.
The Skyline 2000 GT. The Skyline with the Gloria engine. They
Oh.
put that into production because they had to homologate it.
Okay, yeah,
In 2
I'm
weeks-
retarded. I was thinking of the Toyota 2000 GT.
That's right. But yeah, like 2 weeks later, after they do that, they announced the GT-R based off the new style of Skyline.
Oh,
Yeah.
so how rare are those Nissan 2000 GTs or whatever then?
Super rare. I really want one. They're super cool. I don't even care about that one. I just want an S54 Skyline. I think it's one of the prettiest Skylines ever.
S54 powered Skyline?
No, even better, S54 and an S54.
There you go. There, yeah.
But anyway,
What an inception.
when the GT-R came out, it was the first chassis code was the C10 generation.
Okay,
They'd-
not an S10.
No, the C10. Yeah, it was the 2-wheel drive 10. Now, it was also third generation. C would be third generation. 10 is the first variant of that. Now, so they had different codes for it. They had the GC10, which was like the sedan, the commercial variant, which is the VC10, the estate, which is the WC10. Now,
Why would they do it with letters? That's so confusing.
Now, this is where it gets clever. Remember that Prince designed all their racing engines at that point in time, and they made the R380.
Yeah.
And all the Prince engineers felt like that they were really loyal to the Prince brand. And when Nissan bought them out, they kind of washed the brand out of existence.
Whenever you say Prince,
I
I
know.
just get Purple Rain.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the guy that lived like
Yeah.
2 blocks away from here.
When they made the GT-R, the chassis code was PGC10. P
Prince?
was for Prince.
Haha!
So to make sure
see?
that
I got it. I'm not all that slow.
to make sure that they existed forever. Anyway, that car went on to win freaking everything. It became like the coolest thing in the world. Everybody thinks of the C10 Skylines for the coupes, even though the coupes didn't come out till the 70s. There were 2 years of sedans winning everything.
Because sedans are better.
Yeah, actually.
That's a fact. I mean,
The first 36 of the 50 victories that the C10 Skyline had were from sedans.
I see. That is my kind of history right
Yeah,
there.
it's a super cool car.
Like if you had come in to the beginning of this episode saying like HispanoSuiza was a car company, sorry, that only made 4-door vehicles, I'd
Yeah.
have been like, I'm totally okay with pre-war. Yeah, that'd be good.
But yeah, so I thought it was super cool. Also, 50 victories not being raced in Europe, just in Asia.
In how many races?
Like, it wasn't all of them, but 50 victories between 1968 and 1971.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's an
a lot of races.
amazing
Especially if
racing
it's in
pedigree.
one series.
Yeah, it was in a few different, but like those are just professionally entered. If you include privateer races, you're probably well over 100. Like that's just what Nissan themselves.
Was that and that was the sedans?
that was the sedans and the coupes that did 70s, but
Cool.
well, 50, but over half of them were from sedans.
Yeah.
Like
So sedans
yeah,
are good.
35 of 50 were from sedans.
I like
That's
that.
awesome.
That's a good fact.
Yeah, that's a great fact. Anyway, they made a second generation of the original Skyline at the S20, the C110. My personal favorite. It looked amazing, the Camry Skyline. However, they debuted it in late 1972, 1973. The oil crisis happens, and then they made 193 of them, and they had to discontinue the GT-R because of the oil crisis.
After 193 examples.
Yeah. The C110s are. I've never seen a
was gonna say.
C110 GT-R in my life.
That kind of rarity is like R63 AMG rare.
Yeah, I've seen 3 Hakoska GTRs. I've never seen one Camry. I can't even think of a Camry GTR in America. That's how rare they are. I don't think there are any in America.
It's far too nationalist, that car's pride.
Yeah. Oh, super nationalist. Anyway, the car came back in the late '80s and has kicked ass ever since, more or less. So that's kind of where we're at on it. I may go way more in depth when we do a Skyline episode.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
I just wanted to kind of.
I just want to put my favorite out there before we cancel this whole thing out and go to the next story, which is the best one is the R33 Tommy Kyara. Or whatever
Those are
one.
Tommy Kyra.
Yeah.
Those are great. Actually, I like the R31 Tommy Kyras were really cool.
seen that
Even though those weren't GTRs proper, they were GTSRs. But we'll get into that in the Skyline
Yep.
episode.
Yeah, I won't touch on that too much.
But those ones are really cool because that was an NA.
Those ones,
that was-
really?
Sorry, those were
Thank
NA inline sixes that made like 200 horsepower. Pretty cool.
For the day, that is a lot of
And
power.
for, like, the
Even if it was like a
mid-80s.
9-liter 6-cylinder, that
It was
still would have
the
been
mid-
pretty impressive.
Yeah, this is the mid 80s. It was a 2-liter. It was
Well,
pretty
we
cool.
go back and watch old Motor Weeks or whatever, and they're talking about 3.1, 3.3, 3.8,
Making
4-liter
a
engines.
whopping
They're making like 125, 130
Yeah.
horsepower, and people are like, "Dang, nice."
Well,
I'm like, "No, how is that? That's horrible."
The V6 V20 Camry with the manual transmission, and you could get like
Seriously.
165 horsepower.
and at some point when we do the Camry episode, we'll talk about that because
it blew everybody's mind.
the 2VZFE was one of the first power dense production V6s.
Yeah, it's really
it,
cool.
It was like 188 horsepower.
Yeah,
a 2.5.
and nobody talks
V6.
about it. Nobody talks about it at all.
And every single one of them that's ever been created was either killed for reasons that it wasn't its fault,
Yeah,
and that's it.
that was it.
That's
yeah,
it.
it's just they were
Or
beaten
still
to sub-
exists.
They were beaten to submission. Like it was
Or
it.
just scrapped in a car that had too much rust.
Now I want to talk about something that is a 6-cylinder times 2.
Okay.
So give me something about a V12.
I like them. There are 3 of them in this here airspace that we're in.
Yes, there are. And what I like about those is those are all Mercedes V12s, which is like
One of them is.
If you are I guess one of them is. if you are building a supercar, it's like when you build a muscle car and you just default to an LS.
Yeah.
That's like the LS of supercars is
Yeah.
the Mercedes V12.
I mean,
love
especially
that
like you've got behind us the Murcielago. That's got the Bizzarini V12. That is the small block of Italy
Yes.
for like the 50 years prior to that car.
Yeah.
You got the M120 in the Mercedes
You got
beneath
a great
us.
selection of V12s.
That's the V12. I mean, that's the first ever high feature 4-cam
V12.
production V12 like
Yeah.
ever.
And you got your BMW.
And then we got the M70, which is a really early technological showcase, but really low tech.
You need to get yourself a Colombo V12 and something.
They're. You mean a 456 GT? No, shoot, those are the later ones. Columbos are the early ones.
You just find like there's got to be a
400i.
Yes.
Are those Columbos?
Yes,
I think they are.
They are.
I don't really want a 400i though.
You own almost all of the great V12s.
Yeah.
That's the one you're missing.
I agree. Can I just buy a Colombo engine and put it on a stand?
Why don't you buy a 400i? Give me the chassis and you
No,
take the engine.
I don't want a 400i.
No, you just take the engine out of it.
Yeah, but I would pay more for it that way, probably. Well, maybe.
No, that would probably be cheaper than just the engine.
Well, if you stumble upon any really crappy ass 400i's with like a bunch of problems, let me know.
Yeah, because I really want the chassis of that car,
fine.
and I do not want that engine.
We'll
I
have to
want
have a 400i challenge.
I want to
then.
have a 400i. I want to stick an LS into it just so I can drive around a 400i because I love the body in that car, and I don't care about the engine. Honey, what?
I gotta know.
What?
No, if
So my sister
have to
came
know.
up with an important
is
question.
this the same one that locked herself in a car?
Yes. She's obviously going to get a new
Yaris.
car. She's asking Scion or Yaris. And I'm like,
Yaris.
they're both
Yaris.
Toyota, so you should be
Yaris.
fine.
Unless it's a first-gen XB, get a Yaris,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it has to
So
be
I
manual.
asked her which Scion.
Yeah.
Anyway, V12s, yeah, sorry. They're like the small block engine of the rest of the world because they couldn't make their V8s power dense enough or cheap enough to be small blocks. So really, you're going to do an engine swap on the rest of the world and you don't have a small block Chevy, you just go for the most powerful thing you can find in a cheap old car.
It's probably a
It's gonna be
Mercedes V12. Yeah.
Right. So on that note, the M120 and the SL600 beneath us is the predecessor to not only the Pagani Zonda, actually it is the Pagani
Yeah, as
Zonda
I say,
engine.
that's the Zonda
Not
engine.
even the predecessor. It's the predecessor to the 6-liter twin-turbo 65 AMG engine that we've seen since 2005.
Yes.
Mercedes this coming year, is finally ending production of the 65 V12.
I'm blaming Volkswagen.
Why? I mean, I'm on board, but like, why?
I'm blaming Volkswagen because their stupid Dieselgate bullshit put the eye of the public on cars with high emissions. And because of that, we're getting rid of all these really cool things that we otherwise could enjoy. So fuck you, Volkswagen, and I hate you. Anyway, moving on.
And honestly, I should say this might just be in the S-Class, but that means it's on its way out in all the models. Because if I scroll down to another Jalopnik article, in this Jalopnik article, it's AMG can't make enough silly, fast 620 horsepower V12s. So people are still buying out of these things.
Oh.
But, I mean, if they're taking it out of one of their high-volume 65 models, I'm still worried.
Well, that is a good point. Now, I will say, Chevy
Yeah,
did discontinue the 454 V8 for a while,
they did.
and they continued to make them as crate engines.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe,
Oh, they'll still send these to Pagani for the
as
Lyra.
I say, that this will probably be produced as a crate engine. However, during that time, there was like zero technological development. All the technological development was in the aftermarket.
That's okay, because
'Cause
this
you
is
have
still
mer-
an
you have-
all-aluminum twin-turbo V12 that makes more power than the transmissions can hold.
Yeah.
So
So-
it's not really an issue that they need to figure out with the engine. They need to make more betterer transmissions.
Why can't you just put Power Glide behind it?
You could.
Yeah, just do
And
that.
honestly, that would be a perfect fit for that engine's power delivery.
Yeah, because that's got like a power band that's about that big.
No, it's massive.
I thought it was a really tiny power band.
No, it's got teeny tiny turbos, so the power's
okay.
everywhere.
There you go.
I didn't realize how small the turbos were on that until somebody like put one on something that wasn't that car.
And you're like, that's
I'm just
really
like,
small.
ooh, I see. That is way smaller than the
I would
turbo I
l-
have on Brexit.
I would love to see one of those engines with properly sized turbos.
Yeah, again, back to the transmission. Bit of a problem, but
Is that why? So 1320 Video a while back went to Germany for like for standing mile drag racing.
Yeah.
Or whatever kilometer it would be. And
1,000
all the
meters?
German cars are slow as
Thereabouts.
shit. Like they were getting really excited about going 186 miles an hour. Is that why? Because of the transmissions, and they just like
maybe. I mean, yeah, America, we've got the things like Power Glide, and we've got I totally blank on the name every time, but it's a manual transmission, which is planetaries, but it's
Oh,
a
the man-
Lenco, the Lenco.
the Lenco, yeah.
Yeah, so we have things like that, which are like you just pick how much power you're gonna make, and they'll just make you one that handles it.
Yeah, but
so
I mean,
it's not a
like,
problem.
there's
But
other-
like, you're limited to. I mean, this engine famously limits its transmissions pretty much to 1,000 Newton meters, which is 738 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
Just for various reasons, that's all either the transmission or the drive shaft or the differential or like the tires can take. So maybe that's a thing. They don't mini tub their S classes and put 9-inch Ford rears and Hoosiers under them with a Power Glide.
That's probably it.
I think that's probably it.
yeah, because
It's probably the Tuve, honestly. They probably just aren't allowed to do hood rat things like that over there.
probably very true. Well, I've seen some weird shit like all-wheel drive swaps and like Seat Leons and stuff.
like, what about the twin VR6 Lupos and things like that? I mean,
yeah, you can totally do that. It's just like I don't know.
But I don't know. I mean,
Things like that are why Germany lost World War II. They have all the technology and they don't choose to use it properly.
I mean, I can't fault you there. That's
Well,
okay.
the Tiger tanks weren't terribly reliable, and neither is the 2-liter turbo.
Oh my God. I really hope that's the first time those things have ever been equated. And then, oh jeez. Before we get to finishing out the Z car, I do want to touch on one more thing, which we looked at last night, which is hilarious.
Oh, I saw this. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Breaks the guy in half.
So, the IIHS Insurance Institute for Highway Safety tested forward automatic braking for a few vehicles. I think it was the Subaru Forester, the Honda CR-V, the BMW X1, and the Volvo XC40.
This guy looks like he sleeps in that dress shirt.
He looks like he has a lot of cheese pizza on his computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not good.
Of all sorts.
Yeah, not good. So we see here, what car is that? The Subaru? Subaru, stopping no problem. We see
That's
this.
a Honda.
The Honda kind of bumped into them, but stopped on its own.
I like that stopped and then started going again. And
Right?
stopped again.
Like, is the pedestrian going to move? Does it honk the horn at least? It should auto honk. Here's the So here's the Subaru stopping in plenty of time.
With that kid could fall over and not hit the car.
Right?
Like that Subaru kicked ass. Say what you will about Subaru, they do a few things.
The
like
the
really,
eye.
really well.
What do they call that system? The eye
Eyesight.
eyesight.
Thank
Not to
you,
be confused with
one
the.
European Subaru car salesman. I remember.
Here's the
everything.
Forester. There's the RAV4, and there's the XC40. They all stop for this mythical pedestrian. Mitsubishi Outlander not doing so well.
Wow, shocking. Mitsubishi
And then here's the BMW X1.
doesn't even attempt.
They're gonna hit him anyway. Might as well.
Wow. Even BMW AI drivers drive like assholes.
Yep.
Maybe it actually. Maybe it
I thought it was
accelerates
gonna
to get
flash
away.
the brights, accelerate, and flip the bird out the window. But anyway, yeah, there's that. I thought that was worth dropping in.
Well, on that
Woo.
bombshell,
All right.
I'm going to finally talk about the Z car because I got my notes. I was trying to stall last episode while my notes were loading up, and they freaking wouldn't. Anyway, the S30 that we all know and love, the real Z cars, the 240, 260, 280Zs.
Sorry, I hit my Girl Scout cookies.
I guess that's
Those
fair.
those were around from 1969 till about 1978 in one way or another. However, to really talk about that, we have to go back to the car before it, which was the Datsun Fairlady sports car, the Sports 2000 stuff like that. And then to go talk about that, we have to talk about the DC-3, which was a 1950s.
Isn't that an airplane?
Yes, annoyingly enough, and it makes it impossible to find decent pictures of this car. 'Cause I wanted to write an
I'm
article.
guessing they made a lot more of the aircraft ones.
Yeah, they did. I
Okay.
tried to write an article about it on Japanese Nostalgia Car. I threw my hands in the air because I got so frustrated trying to find photos. They made 50 of them in the year 1952 only.
Oh my.
However, that car and the Datsun Sports convertible of the 60s.
Okay, give me the most the closest lineage car that predated the 240Z. I'm gonna pull up a picture.
I'm getting to it.
Yeah,
Those-
but I gotta give them something.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, fine.
The DC-3 and the Datsun Sports car were both designed by Yuichi Oda.
Okay.
Yuichi Oda was he worked for a car company called Oda back in.
What do I got the name?
I know, right? Him and his brother owned a car company called Oda back prior to World War II.
I'm sensing some nepotism.
And prior to World War II, they were Nissan's only competitor at Tamagawa Speedway, Japan's first racetrack.
Okay.
So,
The only competitor.
yeah, because everybody else.
I'm guessing their factory-sponsored series went really well for them.
Well, no, it wasn't a factory-sponsored series. That's why. Like, no, the factories didn't get any sponsorship whatsoever.
Yeah, but if you're the only manufacturer making a car.
Well, no,
for this
there
racing-
were more, but like, if as far as purpose-built race cars go,
Okay.
like it was Oda and Nissan. And then like Soichiro Honda raced there at Tamagawa Speedway, but he had like a custom one-off aero car that he made with like a Curtiss airplane engine in it, and is based off a Ford Model T.
That sounds lively.
Yeah. If you want to look up the Soichiro Honda Hamamatsu Special,
How do you spell Hamamatsu?
Hamamatsu Special. No, not Jama. Hama. Oh yeah, it's right there.
Google knows me. It's okay.
Oh fuck. Look up Soichiro Honda.
Here, this is cool.
Yeah, but that's not it. Look up Soichiro Honda's race car.
Cool.
Anyway.
I'll just leave this up until you give me the predecessor to the T40.
Anyway, so after World War II, Tamagawa Speedway is this weird thing. They tried super hard to make it work. It was really, really cool. Did not take off because by the time they finally actually got some racing happening, it was like 1937.
That's still pretty early.
They invaded China in 1938.
Yeah, no, great.
But once they invaded China, they literally every single car manufacturer only could make trucks for the military, and everything that they made had to be military purpose.
Wartime effort sounds so boring.
I know. And so, funny enough, Tamagawa Speedway,
I keep thinking you're saying Tamagotchi.
Tamagawa Speedway. They were trying to make a. They were trying to say like, oh no, our cars that we're racing are actually like it's for the military because we're making a more efficient engine. Very clever, because that's what Germany was doing at the time.
Yeah. Well, and not just Germany. I mean, the UK and even the United States.
So if you can look up the Datsun Type 11 Roadster.
I can. Datsun Type
That
11
was
Road.
their road equivalent of their race car. It is extremely pre-war looking.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really like its diminutive stature.
Yeah. But
That's a very Jana-y pre-war car.
It is. Look at it. It's all squished face. It looks like the car that Milo chases after in Atlantis.
it very well could
But that
Yeah,
one's
maybe.
a four-door, though.
Oh.
And it's black,
Four-door would have
but
been
it looks-
better.
be. This
looks
is
like
based
that.
off a four-door, though.
Ah,
You can put a four-door chassis on it.
perfect.
Anyway, so the engine on this, depending on what year it was made, is either a DAT 500cc engine or a 725cc
I was going to say 722 looks like in 33 on this one, or 35.
Yeah, so they made 15 horsepower on it.
Nice. That
However,
would have been pretty brisk.
so Yuichi Oda, the gentleman that designed the race cars, was competing against their race cars that were rebodied versions of this.
Okay.
And the Oda cars were like way faster at first. So Datsun made a dual overhead cam supercharged aluminum cylinder head to go on the 722cc engine.
Oh.
Raised the power from 15 horsepower to 43 in
Oh.
1937.
On a 722cc engine. What's the horsepower per liter on that?
It is to the 100th decimal point as powerful as a Bugatti Type 35.
I don't care about the Type 35.
Well,
How many horsepower per liter?
I think it's like 0.75 or
It's
something.
like 50.
Yeah.
It's like 50 horsepower a liter.
Yeah. No, sorry. How many liters per horsepower is what I was doing. But no, it was fast enough
Fapping intensifies.
when they were racing at Tamagawa Speedway.
Yeah.
They would pull on Bugatti Type 35s like in the corners. And the Type
Of course, look
35.
how tiny it is.
Well, the Type 35, because it had way more power, would only be able to pass it once it got around the corner. And once the Type 30, and then the Type 35s were usually like having to drift the corners to try to keep up with the Datsuns, because that's how fast they were. It's all because,
Is that where drifting came from?
kind of, it's all because Yuichi Oda made a way more powerful car just by having shitloads of displacement on top of the Datsuns. Now, after World War II, Oda goes out of business because they were like way more instrumental with making like fighter planes and stuff. So obviously, when the War Commission took over Japan, they're like, "Yeah, you're out. Nissan, you can stay because you can make school buses and like motorcycles." Oda goes over to Nissan because they actually had a friendly rivalry, and he was like really good friends with them, and so they invite him in. 1952, they make their first they make their first sports car after the war, and that was based off of kind of what the MGTDs were and stuff, the early MGs.
Sure.
And it was called the Datsun DC3. That made 20 horsepower. It could go 43 miles per hour. Boy, howdy.
Still looks pretty pre-war.
I know, right?
Oh, this looks more pre-war than the pre-war car.
I know.
No, actually, this looks like a Jeepster, is what it looks like.
It does, yes. Anyway, so they made like precisely 0. Like they made 50 of them. Like it was just, it didn't
Wow.
sell. Because like who's in 1952, Japan's still rebuilding. Like you still can't live in like Hiroshima, because it's an irradiated mess at this point.
Yep.
So nobody's be buying a sports car, and nobody bought it. Fast forward, 1959, Japanese economy improves, and they release the S211 Sports 1000. Now, this car has a direct pedigree right.
Japanese cars need shorter names.
Well, I had to give you the chassis code. Go click on that white one right there.
This one?
Yeah, that one. That was the one that Yuichi Oda designed. That was the direct earliest predecessor that 100% is completely connected to the Z car. You get that. That eventually turns into the sports, the Fairlady Roadsters and stuff. Fairlady was named after the designer's favorite, his favorite play.
Which was?
My Fair Lady.
Yeah, buddy.
Yuichi Oda eventually, he eventually retires. And come the S30, the Z car, now we're finally talking about, because I spent way too much time trying to explain who Oda was.
Yeah, provenance is important, but kind of.
It's a weird fact, and I like talking about weird facts, because there's like a lot. You can go anywhere and find out who designed the Z car. Like, everybody knows it was Yoshihiko Matsuo.
I mean, I knew that.
Yeah,
Yoshihiko Matsuo is my homie.
Yeah. And then it was Yutaka Katayama, Mr. K, who was the first president of Datsun of America.
And of course, the predecessor to Mr. Clean.
He popularized the car. Now, that's the thing. They almost called the car, it's really common with Japanese brands to like have to rename cars like at the 11th hour, because they just don't think about it. Like Toyota was almost called the Toyolette.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. K, Yutaka Katayama, petitioned Datsun to call the 240Z the 240Z and not the Fairlady Z, because they wanted to be a big, hairy sports car, not this dainty little girl's car, which is totally, totally fair.
Lady.
Like, well, would you buy...
No, you said totally fair, and I said lady.
Yeah.
So.
Like, what would you rather buy? An AMC Rebel, the machine, or the AMC Barbie dream car?
AMC Barbie dream car.
Probably the AMC Barbie dream car,
But,
but we
I
are
mean-
not a microcosm of the buying
No,
public.
we're far from
And so, yeah, in 1972, nobody's going to buy the AMC Barbie dream car. They always buy the machine. So they call it the 240Z. It's a much better name. Anyway, it came with a inline-6 engine where, as mentioned previously, these other Datsuns like were far away from having 100 horsepower. And like the sports cars, once it got to the Yuichi Oda sports cars, the S211 and up, those could finally compete with the British Roadsters instead of being like laughed off the face of the universe. So the
Face of the universe. Wow.
the DC3, nobody knows or cares about it. It's kind
pretty
of
intense.
sucked. Yeah, so these cars eventually became a much better competitor. It was this car that put the British Roadsters out of business. It was more reliable, it was faster, it was more fun to drive, it had way better suspension. Colin Chapman from Lotus he designed the original design that the suspension was based off of. They were awesome. They were really, really kick-ass. And then, you know what happens? Emissions. Just 1973.
And the gas crisis,
Then
probably.
the gas crisis, and just kind of fucked up everything in the world. 240 no longer could keep up because now they'd have to put a catalytic
How could you
converter
say
on it.
no to its face?
I know, it's really cute. So they had to make the 260 for a couple of years. They made it a little bit larger displacement to offset the catalytic converter. It made it's not as desired. It made 165 horsepower as opposed to 151, but people don't like it as much. Plus, it was gained you eventually got the big ugly bumpers, and you get the 2+2, which is like the most unfortunate roof ever.
Yeah, it doesn't fit that chassis at all.
No, we're not going to look at the 2+2. Then finally comes the 280Z, which is the last S30. The 280Z, you had the 2+2. You had the rubber baby buggy bumpers on the front. It was awful looking. It had the Bosch L-Jetronic.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was really, really, really just
L-Jet's not good.
just the hottest form of hot garbage in the history of hotness. However, what's still nice about it is you can still take all the stuff off a 240 and stick it onto it.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Still
kind of...
S30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The underlying platform is still there.
Now, while they were doing this in Japan, they had the Fairlady ZG.
Funny fact, we just looked at a 240Z. It sold for $33,000. The 280Z, $8,000.
Meanwhile, in Japan, they were making a bunch of really cool stuff. They had the ZG, which had a really awesome aero front end. Look at Fairlady ZG. This has been around since 1971 as a homologation model.
Does it have the... oh, wow, that's cool. It's like
Yeah.
a more slanty nose. This is
It's
probably a
round-
much more...
Yeah, rounded front end, not as pointy. Very, very pretty.
I never even heard about that.
Yeah, it was the Aerodyna nose, which is like extended fiberglass, and then acrylic glass headlight covers. So G stood for Grand.
Which is for Grand Prix.
You could buy that. You could buy all that stuff over the counter from Datsun. They could not put it on for you, but you could put it on
That's cool.
because the headlight covers were
Probably not
technically-
DOT legal.
Yeah, technically not, but they could still sell it for off-road use only.
Oh, I bought a lot of those parts.
Exactly. Now, remember we were talking about the GT-R, and they had that amazing S20 engine?
Yes.
So they
What
made-
about the GR8 engine, though?
Yeah, exactly. The Fairlady, they made the Fairlady Z432. This is the most desirable Z car that you could possibly buy, particularly the 432R. That was a Z car that housed the engine out of a GT-R.
Oh.
And 432 means 4 valves per cylinder, 3 carburetors, and 2 camshafts.
Oh, my.
Yeah. A cross-flow cylinder head,
That is a very nice-looking engine.
hand-polished ports, equal-length headers. Like, it was a kick-ass
beautiful.
engine. Yeah, it's really a work of art.
Looks like a BMW M88.
I love that engine so much.
No Sotheby's. I don't care. I just want the engine picture. Lovely photos, though.
Yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful car.
Beautiful.
That's perfectly stock, too.
Yeah.
So that's just super
Look at
cool.
those headers. Wow.
This car's racing pedigree, you could use an entire episode to cover that.
We
Everybody
won't be
knows
doing
it.
that, though.
No. But,
In fact, we got about 10 minutes to cover the rest of Z.
well, that's all right, because this is kind of... Nobody cares about the later ones.
Yeah, but we still have a Z31 in there somewhere. You
I-
like that a lot.
I know.
Z32s I like a lot.
Yeah,
This
so...
is going to be like a 3-part segment.
Probably not,
Anyway,
but
the,
maybe.
the racing pedigree of the S30, if it wasn't won by a 510, it was won by an S30. That's the long and short of it.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you had the S130, which was kind of like the E21 3 Series.
Is that the 280ZX?
Yeah.
Oh.
The
No, let's
70
pull up a 280ZX, shall we?
78 to 83. Actually, what I would say is look up 280ZX Midnight Racing, because there was a very cool thing that was done with this car. Or, sorry, Midnight Club, sorry. Oh, there, it came up. That's it. Right there.
Is there any angle of this car that's acceptable?
I don't know. Yeah, right there, right there.
Man, this thing's ugly.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Ugh.
200 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't care. That's
Street car.
really ugly. I know we've even talked about this specific car.
Yeah. So, that's basically the best that 280ZX can get. Kept the L series engine, L28 ET. It was turbocharged, fuel injected. This particular one was originally carbureted, and then they switched over to electronic fuel injection. They're actually really kind of cool. Actually, if you want a Z car and if you want to get into a Z car for cheap, you can get 280ZX 2+2 automatic non-turbo for like $2,000 in perfect condition. or you can get a desirable
Well,
one.
yeah, I mean, maybe in the future it'll be worth something, but
I think it. Well, I mean, if you want to get into it, because the thing is, once you address the suspension, you put in stiffer suspension because they soften the suspension up to make it more luxurious.
Mm-hmm.
Once you put in stiffer suspension, you put carburetors on it. It drives just like an S30. Like it's more or less the same car. It's an S30 but slightly modernized.
and fatter.
Yeah, it's a good car. If you want one to molest and beat the shit out of, this is the way to do it. You get everything you love mechanically about the S30.
Yeah, you get the L28 still. It's not a VG30 or whatever.
And when you modify these, when you lower them, when you put the ZG headlight covers on it, and they can look pretty good actually. They're not like the best cars. Those are the acrylic headlight covers, by the way.
Indeed.
But they're by far the worst Z car, but they're, yeah. But it's one of those things where it's not necessarily a terrible car because it still had, like, as good of a racing pedigree as the S30 did per year, because this is when Bob Newman was racing these. But
He has great sauces.
yes, he does.
Newman's own.
Yeah. This car eventually, it won a lot of stuff. It was really good. However, the Z31 300ZX outclassed the shit out of the car. Another thing that they did, note that the 280ZX was not the same as the 280Z. X is when they went to a luxury GT platform. So they made them heavy and soft and cushy and sucky. Then we come to my favorite one.
A
The
soft, heavy,
300.
cushy 300.
Yes, I know. It's frustrating, but it's a very
So what they
pretty car.
did is they took a 280ZX, they replaced a straight six with a V6, and then they replaced all of the curves with rulers.
Yes. Now, the 280ZX, that L series engine,
Yep.
sucked at that point in time. Like, it was super long in the tooth. This is 1960s technology.
Yeah, but the L28 is still a good engine.
Oh, it is. That's an inline. It's a reverse low cylinder head inline six. You can make 300 horsepower on all motor.
And it's a straight six.
Yeah, like it's really cool. This one, yes, the American ones we got were V6s. The V6
Blech.
sucks. It is
Blech.
possibly the ugliest engine ever made.
And yeah,
That-
I'm not going to say anything more about that.
It was not terribly powerful. I mean, for the time, it was actually quite powerful for the time.
I haven't scrolled down yet, but the Z32 edition of the Nissan 300ZX isn't quite as collectible or as fast as the later Z32,
The Z31. Yeah.
but they are considerably cheaper and look less like a Wagyu cow being fattened for slaughter.
That is hilarious. That's exactly how I feel. Plus, I love the headlights on it. I think this design's got a lot of really cool
I'm
stuff
glad
going
some
on
people
for it.
like the Z31 because I really don't.
But the Z31, you had a 205 horsepower V6, which is actually the fastest.
That was the turbo.
That was the turbo one. In Japan, they had ones that were even faster. I mean, you had a VG30DE for the 300ZR. You had an RB20 inline six in Japan, which is the 200ZR.
So much more cool.
Yeah, the RB20 was way cooler. I don't know why we didn't get that. Like, that would have made sense. They had 2+2, which I hate all of the 2+2s. They are all disgusting looking. But the car was actually so fast that in Japan, they started setting rules for how much power a car can make in Japan. And
Was that where the 276 came from?
yeah, the 276 horsepower. Yeah. It came from the Z31, and then the Z32 being way faster than that. And they're like, all right, stop. Like, you can only
That's
make so
enough.
much power. Yeah. The car was a relatively hefty 2,800 pounds, whereas like 10 years ago, you're looking at 800 pounds less. But you also had like electronic voice alerts and stuff like that, and a lot of really cool stuff that they did with it. If you're looking for one of these, by all accounts, go for the pre-facelift. After the facelift,
It looks so much better as the
No, they-
facelift. Yes,
the
it does.
facelift, it looks like a 240Z that's been stung by a bee.
You mean a 240SX?
Sorry, it looks like a 240SX that's been stung by a bee.
Yeah, but that's better than just rulers.
No, because this is what
It's the same thing between the aero front and the four eyes on the Fox body. We're just going to disagree.
No, because the rear end looks terrible.
I agree. The rear end is worse on
The-
the newer
the-
one.
the
The
rear
rear end on the facelift is awful,
Yeah.
but the rest of the car looks so much better, and the interior is so much better.
The interior is way better.
Yes.
I will give you that. The interior is significantly better on the face.
If you could put the rear end from an early body on the rest of an late body car, I'd be okay with
no,
the
because you
Z31.
got the goofy front end. The goofy front end won't fit with the rest of the car. Anyway, so yeah, the post facelift, while is significantly uglier, you did have the Shiro Special, which is the highest performance one, and that was the one that caused them to go, okay, we need to limit a lot of this performance that's happening because it's just turning into a horsepower war. Now 1990 comes along, and now you've
I think
got,
it was 89, wasn't it?
well, yeah, 1990 production
Okay.
year. Well,
Model year.
89 year, but 99 model year. 99. You know what I mean?
89 production, 99 model.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway,
They just
I
scrolled
want
them
you to
way
take
for-
over from here because the Z32 I find vastly uninteresting.
So everywhere the Z31 US spec cars, especially the facelift, were deficient, the Z32 300ZX that replaced it was not. This
That's
car
true.
was wholly modern. It had a brand new engine, VG30DE twin cam and VG30DE TT twin cam and twin turbo.
280 horsepower
Awesome engines. However, both ridiculously hard to maintain.
and made of glass.
Yeah,
They require all of the maintenance, and that's how you don't really see them.
but I
as
mean, they
much,
make
yeah.
great power. They're strong, but if you don't maintain them, they're done. And like swapping out turbos on them is almost impossible. Things like
Yeah.
that. So
They're very hard to maintain. But the thing is, they were these cars were in the 90s
Yeah.
like the Japanese car to have. Like where the Supra was seen
Yeah.
as ugly, like this one is seen as beautiful.
This one was
which
classy.
I concur.
Yeah.
And the headlights on this car were also used on the
Diablo.
Yes.
Yep. No, the Z32 is like a very, very modern looking and modern technology car. I mean, super Hikus,
Yeah.
4-wheel steer. I mean, I won't dig into the VG30 DETT, but the amount of technologies that engine brought to the U.S. market in a production capacity, the power per liter. I mean, this car won comparisons against the Mark IV Supra. It won against the FDR X7.
Oh, won against everything.
Everything,
Yeah.
because it was just in a lot of ways better.
And it
But
had
the
a-
ZX kind of it took it down because it wasn't necessarily the performance car focus, because it was a Grand Tour, especially when you got to the fatter 2+2 NA and things like
Yes.
that. But
Because, well, you have to understand, like, these, 2+2 twin turbo with T-tops is 3,600 pounds.
yeah,
That's
a porker.
That's hefty.
Yeah, but
by
it's still a
90s
fast car though.
96. Oh no! Don't get me wrong. It's still a great fast car. It's amazing. And actually,
And the
car-
later JDM Fairlady Z models and all that were just beautiful.
yeah, and they not only that, they also had like a racing pedigree, like the Z31 and the 280ZX. Was amazing. I think that the ZX name at this point, by having two models that were trying to stack up with the S30s,
Yeah.
it really hurt this car a lot with the desirability. I mean, nowadays they're flying through the roof in value.
Yeah, like a clean NA, or like a U.S. market twin turbo T-top two-seater.
Oh yeah,
Good luck.
through the roof. Yeah.
Good luck. Even
That's-
a clean NA two-seater is
that's,
ridiculous.
That's a $30,000 to $40,000 car all day long, and going up.
And 6 years ago, $9,000
yeah.
maybe for like the nicest one, $9,000.
No, absolutely.
So when we were talking to Brian Janich last time, I asked him about the JDM import ones, and I seriously think that's a good play right now.
Yeah, that would really, really,
A twin
really
turbo, 5-speed, 2-seat, 300ZX,
Be, yes.
C32.
And I believe
So-
this is actually the last car that that Paul Newman was able to race for Bob Sharp Racing.
I believe that, yeah.
I think it was this one, because he retired and he made that V8 Volvo for having fun in.
the God, what's that local? I think it's a 740 wagon. That's
Yeah.
V8 Volvo license plate. I think it's a 302 or whatever.
But
clever.
so another thing that nobody ever really talks about, but Jun Blitz, so Jun and Blitz,
Yeah.
they got together and they made the Bonneville Z32, which holds a class record set in 1995. Still holds it
I didn't know there were any records that still held.
at 260 miles per hour.
But I mean, there's I was out of Monterey. What are those IMSA 300ZXs? Like those were really successful in racing. I mean, the car has a lot of pedigree.
And then Jun also their first going with the Z32 in 1990 off the bat, 210 miles per hour at the Yatabe test course.
It jammed some golf tees in the wastegates and just let her rip.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And then that same car, they hit 231 in Bonneville.
Oh my Lanta!
Yes.
It is that. It's worth mentioning the Z32 is, I think, one of the more aerodynamic shapes. It was like the first car to beat the 8 Series in aerodynamics.
Well, so the Z31 when that came out was the Z31 when it came out was the most aerodynamic car of the 1980s.
Okay,
It was beaten by production car, I should say. It was beaten by the Subaru XT6.
Oh God.
Which actually, I know it's weird, but that car's actually that car's slippery as hell.
It's because it's probably so small.
No, it's the Subaru designed airplanes. So like, even though it's all angular, all the angles feed into each other. They don't have any like things that are like full.
Well, that explains why it's so ugly. I mean,
yeah, I think it looks cool as hell, but
do you know what the car I bet's really aerodynamic?
Hmm.
The Lancia Gamma.
Yeah, I think that one was too, actually. Whereas, but these cars were using aerodynamics like in a big way because they were only allowed to make this. Where gentleman's agreement comes in,
which they all blatantly ignored and just said, yeah, it makes 276.
Yeah, and they make like 320.
Yeah, like the 2J, the VG30 DETT, the 13B Turbo,
the 6G 73.
Yeah,
they all did it. I think Honda's the only one that's like, hey guys.
Yeah, they
you
had
said
like
276.
They had the C30 and the NSX, and it's making like at 8100 RPM, it's making like 275.9.
Yeah,
something like, come on!
And they're just like being the good guy.
Yeah.
Like
they're taking the high road.
Honda's over here being lawful good, and everybody else is just chaotic evil.
I bet late 90s Japan would have been a fun place to hang around.
But what's interesting is because these cars set the 280 mile per hour or horsepower limit. That's why all these Japanese cars in the 90s had such cool tech, like four-wheel steering, four-wheel drive. And
right, they're trying to edge somebody else out somewhere else.
Six-speed transmissions and the 13B rotary just existing. And it's because you're trying to edge out your competition. Yep. You can't just go and like make, we made an R5 horsepower. No, an R5 horsepower. And then the cars end up weighing like 8,000 pounds and making like 1,200 horsepower. And they're all going 155 miles an hour.
Or even that, like a special edition for racing where it is a lightweight but still the same engine and things like that. So yeah.
So these guys were actually like trying to like out race each other. And
engineering and problem solving was fun, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And then and with that, you would have these cars that on the factory engines, you could now take them out racing and be even more powerful. So like the Z31, that VG30 ET.
Yeah.
When you had those at full like boost, they'd make 1,000 horsepower of a V6, a single recam V6.
Yeah, I think the blocks are almost, if not identical, to the DETT.
Yeah,
so
they are. They're very close. They're super robust.
The bottom end is not an issue on those.
Yeah, no, it's just top end stuff. But the 300ZX and the 94 24 Hours in Le Mans was first in GTS class, fifth overall. I mean, that car.
And that was a 90s turbocharged production car.
Yeah.
Those weren't supposed to be reliable.
No, and they were out here with a turbocharger winning Le Mans when everybody else is using a V12.
No, everyone else has got an NA engine, and they're swapping an engine out in hot pit.
Yeah, no, everybody's got NA V12s that grabbed like 3,000 RPM, and they're having to like swap them out real quick. And like Nissan's like, we just got an engine of a Maxima, and it works fine.
We took the Maxima engine, we just made some better cylinder heads for it, and we put these new turbos on it, and the thing is, it's great.
Now, there was, after the 300ZX, we lost him for a while, and the reason was the Japanese economy crashed in 1990. The bubble economy burst. All these really cool cars that we see in the 90s.
Like the XJ220.
Well, the Japanese ones, I should say.
Yeah, but they bought most of the XJ220s and then just sat.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of these, that's why, if you see these cars in the 90s, they were static with production. They were, and that's why I think 80s cars are so much more cool because each car was getting more and better. It was just better and better and better.
Yeah.
And the 90s ones are stagnating. It was like a medieval era.
Which they were still, competitive worldwide, but in Japan, there's no reason to improve them.
That's the thing. It's like, that's the thing. In Japan, the 80s, Japan in the 80s were 30 years ahead of time. And we are now at a point where Japan has to make new tech.
30 is a bit ambitious.
20 to 30.
20, I could maybe see.
But I'm talking about like in 1980. Like
Yeah.
1980 to 1990, 2000 to 2010. It was like the late 2000s when they started actually producing new tech again, really.
I'd say 20 years.
So anyway,
1980 to 2000, maybe.
that's what I'm saying.
You said 30 to 2010.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. But what I meant to say was by 2000 they were relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And then by 2010 they actually had to start producing new stuff. That's what I was trying
Oh,
to say.
I see. Okay,
Yeah,
I
so
get
like
you.
they could make it
So they could rest on their laurels
They
that
could rest
long,
on your
but-
laurels for
okay.
about a decade. You
For
were
sure.
so far ahead.
For sure.
And that's why these cars I thought were so cool in the 80s is like in the 90s, like I think they're cool. Don't get me wrong, but like it was done at that point. Like cool, your economy's already crashed. So like how like those cars were created out of a panic
Right.
in the 90s because they're like shit. We put all of our money into making sports cars.
Oops.
We dumped so much money into the 300ZX and nobody's buying it, and we need to get bought out by Renault.
I mean,
and that's
it was-
actually what happened.
Oh, gee. Well, at least Renault gave us the Aventime.
Yes, but that's also why we didn't see the Z car for a few years, was because they almost went out of business because of how they made these.
Here's a fun hypothetical for you. Which thing almost did Nissan in more? The Japanese economic crash or the Aventime?
Oh, it's economic crash, yeah.
I don't know. Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
But
but-
still, funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But it was,
Do you still love the Aventime?
the economy totally crashed, and this car, as amazing as it was, should have been able to keep on going, but the bottom was pulled out from under it.
Which is why we didn't get the car its entire run.
No, it didn't. And that's why the Z32 was discontinued in 2002. We had to
Well,
wait.
we got it. We stopped in 96 and
Well,
it was
I-
discontinued worldwide in 02.
No, it's 2000 was discontinued worldwide.
We stopped getting them in 1996.
I know that.
Right, but I'm saying you said they were discontinued in 02. It's worth mentioning that we did not get them anywhere
No, I said
anywhere
2000.
near that.
I know. I should say, yeah, it is worth mentioning that, but they were discontinued. in
Which is
2000.
why, if you look at it from our country's perspective, it's like, oh, okay,
We
we
had-
got a new car in 1990, and then we had to wait until 2003.
Yeah, so we
But
had
the
to
rest
wait
of the world waited
thir-
nothing.
Yeah, we had to
basically.
wait 13 years for this car. And it's
And
because when they did come
Z33.
out- Z33, the 350Z.
When this came out, I remember getting all the pamphlets from the auto show, and I saw this exact Touring in the orange. I'm like, 287 horsepower. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was
I
awesome.
want that. The cool like Spaceball shift boot and the Touring package and
Oh,
everything.
it's super of the era.
And then now all of them have been turned into drift missiles.
I think that the 350Z
Yeah.
is that car is as 2000Z
Yeah.
as the Z31 was as much as the Z31 was
100% agree.
80s. Yeah.
100%.
There's certain cars that just perfectly represent an era, like
Yeah.
Maserati. Like every Maserati Quattroporte perfectly represents the design of the time.
Yep.
And so does the Z car.
I pretty much agree.
'Cause
Yeah.
The 70s cars, early 70s, awesome. Late 70s, the worst car ever. 80s cars,
Angular technology showcases.
techie,
Yeah.
really cool. Like if you're into that, like it's love or hate. There's no
Angular,
one
they're
there's-
angular tech showcases.
there's nobody that feels meh about an 80s car. You either love it or you hate it.
Okay.
The 90s cars, same
Again,
thing.
90s tech. Yeah. 90s
Super
styling.
90s.
Mhm.
Looks like it was designed on a Dreamcast. This looks like
Yeah.
it came out of a MySpace page.
Yes.
It,
I like that.
it looks like it was conceived to be tested on the first season of the new Top Gear.
Yes.
Yes. That's what it was
It's
for.
it's in a 2003 color. It's a 2003 style. It's got 2003 wheels and brakes
With a 2003 shift now.
and a 2003 backdrop.
Yep.
Shot on a 2003 camera,
Yep. That's 2003.
and I can see the 2003 tripod in the door or something too. But
Oh my God, you can.
but no, I really liked the 350Z when it came out. I'm a lot more lukewarm on it now just because of the demographic that owns them and what's happening to most of them.
Well, that's also again how these cars age. Is you.
Right, but like I didn't see a lot of really clapped out 300ZXs.
I
Z31
think
or
if
Z32.
you want to get in on a really, really skookum car, do what my friend Maxwell did. Get a 350Z Nismo.
I would say
Kick ass body kit on that car.
get any bone stock unmolested 350Z 6-speed.
Well, the Nismo part. If you want to see special editions, they're actually worth getting. That are like you can tell a special edition from a not special edition. 350Z Nismo. Just type in Nismo after that.
That's what I was doing.
Uh,
I'm gonna close some of these tabs here.
yeah. That Speed Hunters one
This
is
one?
pretty close. Yeah, or the white one actually is a great example of it.
That thing's so ugly.
Yeah, but that's the one that's be worth all the money because they made 1,500 of them.
Oh, then yeah, if you can find one of those, do that.
Maxwell got his. He's modified and everything, but he's like not drifting it or anything, and he's leaving every single thing he's done.
As long
to
as
it,
he has
can
the
take
stock
off.
parts,
Yep, he's
that's
got them.
fine.
Every single one's in a little plastic, like those little computer bag things that are the non-static, anti-static bags.
If I ever bought one, I would buy that exact car. A gold touring 6-speed.
It's copper.
Whatever. Copper. But
Now-
specifically the touring with the manual, because it was not common at all.
No, that's a very, very sought-after car. It's kind of like with the Z31s, just because I know these.
Yeah.
The ones to get is you either get the 25th anniversary edition, which would be the equivalent to the Nismo because it's got the body kit on it and everything, or you get the one with the leather interior, the digital dashboard, the manual transmission, and a turbo, and a two-seater configuration with T-tops. Yeah,
Yep.
that's the way to get it. Like
Pretty-
you,
There is undoubtedly a configuration you want to buy
yeah,
one of these
you
so.
spec out the best one you can with the most performance stuff on it, or you get the Nismo.
Or the rarest.
Yeah, which is the Nismo.
You know, just the scarcest production. All right, let's briefly touch on Z34.
Z34 was really it felt like a carryover. The Z34
It felt like a facelift. Yeah.
it's like the Z34 is kind of like the Z32, but not as good.
When you Google a car's chassis and you have a hard time finding a stock unmolested
Stop!
photo,
Stop! 1 second. This is my problem with the Z34.
There it is.
No. Go up to the convertible. That one right there, the convertible. Look how
that thing stands.
horrific that rear end looks.
It looks like a cross cab that they lowered.
Weird. It came out around the same time as a cross cab. It did the weird, goofy, floopy headlight. It is just that is everything that I dislike.
Again,
about
it
modern
is
car design.
completely of the era in
Yep.
2009.
Super heavy, super tech heavy. Annoyingly performs better than anyone ever before. I hate this car
First
so
production
much.
car to have synchro rev match manual.
That's actually kind of cool.
There you go.
It's got this disgusting, unnecessary headlights, unnecessary
I
body.
cannot tell how Ryan feels about the Z34 for the record.
The one thing I like about the Z34 is that roof line finally makes sense again. But you still have too short of a nose.
I still think it's a facelift 350Z.
It's got a better roof line. The roof line's way better than the 350Z.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, because the 350Z droops down, then goes. It
Just
looks more
at the back, you mean?
Yeah, just at the back.
Yeah, the tail end of the 350Z always looked a little awkward to me, and
That
like
looks
this is
way
much more
better.
staunch.
But that's the thing is, it's ruined by everything else.
I would take a 350 over a 370.
Yeah,
for
I would.
sure.
I concur, 100%.
And it's easier to get a factory LSD on a 350.
Yeah, and the 370s.
Really easy these days.
The 370 has been around for a decade.
10 years.
'Cause
They've changed nothing.
Carl's Ghosn didn't need to do shit with it.
And now
'cause
he's in
he had-
prison.
Yeah, they had no competition. The Super was dead. The RX-7 was
Oh,
dead.
sorry,
the
that was me.
NSX was dead. Everything was dead.
Oh shoot.
So
What'd I do?
what were you going to do? Like buy something other than a 370Z if you're looking for a Japanese sports car? Like you can get this,
There weren't any.
or you could get a Evo or a STI.
At the time, you had this, and then in 2013, I think the BRZ.
Yeah, 2013, 2012ish. Yeah.
So, like literally,
You
like,
had
3 years. If you wanted a Japanese rear-wheel drive manual car, that is the only thing you could
Or a
buy.
Miata.
Okay, fine.
But
Or
the
Miata.
thing is, the Miata's the correct response. But the thing is, the Miata,
A BRZ is just. I'm gonna call that a Miata.
you don't consider the Miata on the same level that you consider this. Even though the Miata's better. Fact.
It is better. Yeah.
If you want a Japanese GT car, you got this or a G35. I would get the G35, but I mean,
The demographics even worse.
oh, it's awful.
The
You
people
don't
that
talk to
own
people.
G35 coupes.
I've met a lot of really, really good people in that community, but there are so many weenies in that community. I get it.
It's like the LX platform community. It's the same group of people.
The only thing that I'm thankful for is that my dad had like the most desirable.
Yeah, it was a
G35.
four-door manual.
Well, it's a four-door Nismo.
I didn't know it was Nismo.
Yeah, a Nismo body kit on it, which is so. Anybody would talk shit, I'd be like, Nismo, get out of here. And they go,
Ohio, son.
But I mean, like,
Jesus.
that's the thing. I'm excited for a new Z car.
I
There needs to
hope-
be a new one. Every year of wanting a new one.
I do hope they trim some fat. They drop the X. Or don't bring the X back, rather.
Yeah.
Sure, call it a 300Z. I don't care.
Yeah, trim the fat, call it a 300Z, make a sports car.
Make
again.
it 3150 pounds curb weight. Put a
How
3 liter.
much does this one weigh?
Oh, God. Let's find out.
I'm gonna use my-
Z34 370Z curb weight.
I'm gonna look as well.
Oh.
Just to verify.
That is a lot lighter than I thought it was.
What is that, like a base model?
3232. Just says. See,
That can't be right. Click on the Wikipedia article.
Okay. 2009 through present. That I was expecting that to be more pounds. You'll get a Leaf Z and you'll like it. They're not gonna. Are they gonna make the Z electric?
No, they won't.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. 1466 kg. That is a lighter car than I thought it was.
Let me verify this. I'm just looking at my phone.
Yeah, because your phone is better than my computer, I'm sure.
I'm just verifying. Well, I'm using a different search engine.
Okay, it is lighter than most 350Zs. You could get a base 350Z at 3188, which is
Wow.
really reasonable. Oh, the Roadster was 3602. Boh. Have fun with your Dodge Charger. Anyway,
So that weighs
beauty.
that weighs how many pounds?
Which one? The
How
370?
many tons?
The 370?
Yeah, 370.
The 370 was
Like 1.5,
3182.
So it's 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay, I just saw it here, and it says it was 7.3476 to the 22nd power kilograms.
I don't think you scroll up a little bit. That's the moon. That is not a 370Z.
Oh,
You
that's a
typed
typo.
it in wrong.
I'm sorry.
Ah.
It seemed a little weird. Anyway.
And on
so,
that note, we're not going to learn anything interesting this week because we have...
Jano, did you learn anything interesting at all? Real quick. You got 5
Uh,
seconds. 4,
No,
3,
I didn't
2.
learn anything new this week.
1.
Ryan, did you learn anything interesting this
0.
week? 5,
Yeah.
4.
Oh, Cyrus
3,
always has an erection.
2,
Whenever he's
1,
depicted, he always has an erection
0.
because he's happy to be alive.
Sounds good.
Should I get the bagpipes?
You shall get the back.
I will get the bagpipes.
I didn't learn fuck all interesting. That's my one F-bomb. We will catch you guys next week. Thanks as always for watching.